Start right out here in half moon. So get those feet right together, first position, get those hips locked out as much as possible. Hands interlock the fingers, extend the index fingers. Reach as high as you can, get the elbows extended, pull those shoulder blades down. Start to draw the arms back toward the ears. And kicking the hips forward, the shoulders should stay above the ankles, not behind them. Push the hips to the left. Find a balance point to the right. And then pull hard with this right arm and spin and lift and turn. And try to reach the fingertips to the back right corner of the room where the ceiling meets the wall, making sure you're not compressing the right side of your ribs down onto the pelvis. You want to keep that open. Take a big breath. Pull hard and turn and lift for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll reset back to center. Get those elbows extended as much as you can. Lay the head back. Draw the arms back toward the ears. Push the hips to the right. Find that balance point to the left and then pull hard and spin and lift. And reach these fingertips to the back and left corner of the room. Just keep trying to turn and lift as you do. Making sure those left ribs stay off of the pelvis. No compression there. Big breath in. Pull hard and lift and turn for 5. And we'll reset to center. One more time. So draw those arms back, get those shoulder blades down. Kick the hips forward as much as you can, and then lifting the spine, lifting the sternum to the ceiling with a big breath here. For 5. And we'll come on into awkward pose. So forward on your mat, about the width of the mat, get the toes pointed forward. Keep the shins vertical. Sit back into the hips, keeping the knees from moving forward, the shins nice and vertical. And pull those thumbs back toward the ceiling. Try to squeeze those wrists together, keep the collarbone nice and high, and set your shoulder anchors, and pulling back on those knees without letting the hips come up. It's nice pressure into that high hamstring. Just keep the chest up nice and tall. You feel your back in awkward pose, your head and shoulders have rolled forward. Take a breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll squeeze to come out of that and move into goddess. So nice and wide, take a sumo stance where you turn the feet out as much as possible toward 90 degrees, just making sure there's no feedback to the inside of the knee. Get the torso pulled back, tuck the chin in, the elbows about the height of the shoulders, pull back on those forearms together, and then pulling back on the outside of the knees as you sit down into goddess, keeping the weight of the torso back. So don't let your body move forward. If you keep the torso back, you'll force the pelvis to tilt. Get a nice arch in your back. Keep pulling the chin in. Keep pulling back on the forearms. You're trying to pull back on the wrists and the elbows at the same time. And with that torso back over your hips, sitting down nice and deep into the hips, pulling back on the outside of the knees. With a breath in here, exhale for 5. And then squeeze to come on out of that to standing bow. So we'll stand on the right foot. We'll work for balance here today. Reach a short foot here with the right foot. Get that right leg locked out with the right glute on. Then over contract the left lat. So exaggerate the left shoulder, pulling back and down. Trying to put that left shoulder blade in your back pocket. And with the chest up nice and high, keep kicking that foot back behind you as far as you can. Keeping the torso up nice and tall, exaggerating the contraction in the left lat, and exaggerating the recruitment of that left glute. Take a breath in here. Exhale and kick for 5. And we'll go to the other side. So short foot here with the left foot. Go ahead and grab the inside of the right foot. This helps to create the shoulder. To create the shoulder anchor, it's easy to pull the shoulder blade back and down. When you're trying to anchor that shoulder, kick this foot back. Keep the arm nice and loose. The hand is just a hook. And then kicking that foot as far back behind you as you can with that torso up nice and tall. Steady, steady pressure. Always trying to get a little more room here. Take a breath in. Kick hard for 5. And we'll come on to the balancing stick. So setting the short foot here on the right again, you're going to lower the torso, Trying to bring the torso down parallel to the floor and bringing that left foot up as best you can. And with that right leg nice and straight, creating the short foot, you're trying to hang on to this balancing stick, trying to creep down as close as you can to getting the torso and the left leg parallel to the floor. Keep creating the short foot. Keep trying to extend that right leg as much as you can. Get that hamstring to open up. Taking a breath in here. Exhale for 5. We'll come to the other side. So left foot short here. Go ahead and start to lower the torso. And as you do, you start to reach those arms forward. And then try to lift that right leg, squaring the pelvis as best you can to the floor. Try to lower the torso to get the upper body parallel to the floor. Keeping that left foot nice and strong. Strong through that leg. Hanging on here as best you can. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll come on into triangle. So nice and wide on your mat with your feet. You want those toes turning forward. Again, you're trying to turn those toes in all the time. So always trying to keep rotating the foot inward. The right foot will pivot 90 degrees. Hinge down into that knee. Make sure you're weighted in the heel, not the ball of the foot. Your arms across the body. Shift to the right and then sink deep down into triangle and push heavy with that right elbow into the knee, and use that leverage to turn the right hip forward and spin the chest up to the ceiling. Keep pulling back on that left hand. Keep that left lat anchored so that arm isn't flailing. Keep turning the left toes in. Trying to push long through the arch of the foot to stretch the mat. Take a big breath in here. Push hard and turn the chest to the ceiling for 5. And we'll squeeze that right glute to come onto that. Spin the right foot in. Keep turning that foot in. And pushing long through the short foot. Arms are across the body. A little shift. And then a deep lateral bend. As deep as you can bend into triangle. And then pushing with that left elbow firmly into the inside of that knee. Try to turn that left hip forward. And pulling back on this right hand. Turning those right toes in and pushing long through the arch of that foot to stretch your mat. Keep trying to pull back on this right hand to open the chest. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll squeeze you out of that. Come on down into garland. So nice and wide with your feet. Trying to get those toes eventually to start to turn forward. You can let them toe out as much as you need to get your hips down nice and deep. And then lifting the collarbone, try to press your hands together. Get the fingers and palms to flatten. See if you can get the wrists to bend in here to 90 degrees, maybe even a little more. And pulling on the outside of the knees. As you lift the chest, trying to sit down nice and deep into garland here. And as you get deeper in it, you start to turn the feet more and more forward. Start to get the heels wider apart. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And then squeeze you out of this to down to gate latch. So down onto the left side of the mat for gate latch. You're going to get the right foot out. Those toes turning in. So really trying to spin those right toes in. And pushing through the foot, you see how it creates the arch here. Make sure you get this left hip kicked all the way forward. So if you can't get the hip kicked forward, this foot has to come in a little bit. Pull your head back, tuck the chin in, pull the left hand back, and then reaching through the fingertips to the right side of the room where the ceiling meets the wall. Keep spinning those right toes in, pushing through the arch of the foot. Trying to touch these fingertips to the right side of the room where the ceiling meets the wall. Just keep the shoulder. Left shoulder is going to want to turn forward. Your body's going to want to rotate to the right. Force it to bend laterally. Keep pulling back on the hand. Keep kicking the hips forward. And then reaching to the right side of the room. Take a breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll come over to the other side. So way over to the right. Get that left leg out nice and far, making sure you keep this right hip kicked forward. Keep turning the left toes in. See the arch of the foot pop up. And then with the head pull back on the right hand, and then reach through those fingertips to the left side of the room, way up where the ceiling meets the wall. So lift as you bend. Keep kicking the right hip forward. Keep pulling the right hand back. Your torso is going to want to rotate to the left. You keep it from turning. Force yourself to bend laterally, straight to the side as much as you can. Take a breath in here. Reach and pull back on the hand and kick the hip forward. And we'll come on down on your belly for the Cobra. So the hands are right underneath the fronts of the shoulders. Shoulders are down from the ears. You want to squeeze those elbows tight into the rib cage. Take an assessment of your hands. The hands should flatten evenly on both sides. Point your toes. Squeeze your feet together. Squeeze your glutes. Pull the chin in very strong. So tuck that chin in and then gently pull those hands back. Draw the shoulders down from your ears and extend through the top of your head to stretch your neck, pushing the crown of the head up and away to the middle of the wall in front of you with that chin pulling in very strong. Squeeze those elbows into your ribs, pull those shoulders from your ears, and reach those toes, the wall behind you with a breath here for 5. And then down to full locust. So the arms back at a 45-degree angle here is easy to get the lats recruited. So the shoulders pulling down from the ears will create the lat anchor. Make sure there's no compression in the spine. Point the toes, squeeze the feet together. Reach those toes to the middle of the wall behind you. Tuck the chin, push the crown of the head to the middle of the wall in front of you. Squeeze those wrists together, turn those thumbs up to the ceiling as you push through the top of your head and push through the tips of your toes to reach the middle of the wall behind you with a breath in here for 5. And then into half locust. So palms facing into the mat. Take a chin stand and then get those hands down nice and low on the thighs and as close as you can get to the pinkies eventually touch. Pointing the right toe, squeeze the right glute and slowly, carefully raise that right foot up and back to the middle of the wall behind you, being certain that the right pelvis is pushing into the forearm, forcing the wrist and the elbow to bend with a little more pressure. And then down to the left side. Point the toes, squeeze the glutes, reach that foot up and back, feeling that front of the pelvis push down into that forearm, creating more pressure in the wrist and the elbow. Now feet right together, point those toes, press into your palms, try to flatten your hands and fingers into the mat, slowly up and back with those toes, feeling the pressure from the pelvis into the forearms, and push into the hands. Take a big breath, and up with the feet for 5. And we'll come on down to the box, or to the half bow. So, with the right hand, take a second, you stretch that right palm and fingers out, turn that right elbow forward. There's lots of stability in that hand and shoulder anchor. Sit back, grab the inside of that right foot. Exaggerate the recruitment of the left lat. So pull that left shoulder back and down so that the left lat is exaggerated, over-recruited, and then kick that foot into the hand way up toward the ceiling. Create as much arch in your back as you can and as much distance between the hip and the foot as possible. Breath in here. Kick hard for 5. We'll go to the other side. So taking a second, spread that left hand nice and wide. Turn that left elbow forward, sit back, grab the inside of that left foot with the right hand, and then over-recruit the right lat. So pull that right shoulder back and down. Let that arm go nice and relaxed. With those fingers like hooks, kick that foot into that hand and create as much space between the heel and the glute as you possibly can. Just keep over-recruiting the right lat and exaggerate the recruitment of the left glute. Take a breath in here Exhale, kick hard for 5. And we'll get you down on your back. And we'll put you on your wedge. We'll open up the hips here a little bit. So down on your back, get your placement up above the top of the pelvis. So above the brim of the pelvis here, so the tailbone continues to point down. Get a good grip with the knee. Pull that knee in nice and close to the chest and push back as hard as you can. Count 1, 2. And then switch to the other side. Really pull the knee in tight. You're trying to open the hip. You want to be able to get this foot up nice and high. You got to get your socks and your shoes on. One more time here. Heavy pressure, pushing back hard. Same thing here on the left. Now you're going to counter pressure. So knee way up, pushing very low on the thigh. Resist. Now 1, 2. Keep your belly pulling in with the exertion. Always trying to keep that airway open. Once more here. Once more here on the left. Now across the midline of the body. Way up with the knee. Push hard and resist. 1, 2. The other side. Back to the right. Push hard and resist. Once more here on the right. Draw that belly in. Last one here on the left. Airway open. Go ahead and come on down to bridge. Move your hips down, or move your wedge placement down toward your feet. Hands back behind your head. Look at a spot above the eyes on the ceiling. The right leg will extend away. Pull back on the toe if you can. And then down and up with the right foot. Moving through the hip. Keeping the range of motion pretty short so you just feel the belly. It's not about the movement here. Draw that belly in. Keep those elbows pushing into the mat. Keep the airway open. Go ahead and switch to the other side. Left leg extends. Make sure the right knee stays above the hip. That right knee is going to want to pull in closer to the chest. And that's going to take the weight out of the belly. You want to keep that knee at least above the hip and keep those elbows pushing firmly into the mat. Just a few more passes here. And come on down, take a bridge. Stay in that same place, nice and low. Down around the belt line, and bring the feet back up off of the floor, and extend one leg away at a time. Pulling back on the toes, if you can remember, and then keeping that stationary knee right above the hip. So it's going to want to pull into the chest. You just keep it above the hip, and then draw that belly in, and then pushing into the elbows as you feel extra weight into your core. Once more here on the left. Now double knee raise here, so dropping the feet down toward the floor, drawing the belly in, keeping that airway open, making sure you don't feel your hip flexors, making sure you don't feel the tops of your thighs, just the low abdomen here. Now you're going to hold tabletop, that spot right above your eyes, keep the elbows pulling back, exhale, draw the belly in, and move the sternum just barely an inch toward that spot above your eyes, but keep drawing back on those elbows, and then up with the chest and hold, and reaching away with the feet for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down to bridge. We'll move that placement up a little bit higher, so we're above the top of the pelvis, above the crest of the iliums here. There's lots of room to turn the knees for reverse Russian twist. So knees nice and close together. Arms are down beside you, pushing the elbows and the shoulder blades into the mat to keep the upper body anchored and trying to create as much rotation. Big sweeping turns, just a little tiny pause as you transition, shifting the direction back. Nice big stretch. And then a rebound out of this rotation through the lower body with this upper body. Nice and anchored. A couple more passes here. We go ahead and take a bridge, and then you're going to move that placement up a little higher again toward your rib cage. Give you a little leverage to lift the torso from the floor. Hands together. Elbows are extended. Get the shoulders down from the ears. Trying to keep from thrusting through your fingertips. Trying to push from the sternum. So set the shoulder anchors, find that spot above your eyes, and then squeeze the belly and move an inch toward the ceiling through the sternum. And keeping those arms from driving forward, from reaching forward. Always trying to pull the belly in. Always trying to keep that airway open. A couple more here. You're going to come up and hold. Now laying that head back with your hands for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on down. Take a bridge. We stay in that same spot. And we're going to go to Russian twist. So we're going to reach this time to try to create as much rotation through the body as possible. Get those legs extended. Try to keep the hips down as much as possible. You're going to lift up and hold and reach. Right and left. Trying to turn as much as you can. Keep that head back and rotate the torso. 2 more. And come on down and bridge. Remove your placement back down a little bit lower. So above the top of the pelvis again, but a little closer to the feet. We'll go back to an oblique movement. So elbows are pinned into the mat. I'm going to shift those knees way over to the right and keeping those elbows strong into the floor. Knees turn to the right. You're going to lower and raise the feet, trying to pull from the low left side of the abdomen, making sure you keep those elbows and shoulders pinned into the mat. This left shoulder is going to want to elevate. Way over to the left now. Both of these legs, and again, keep that right elbow pinned into the mat. Open up your chest, loading into this low right side of the abdomen. SI joint, this area is going to be weak. You've got a right SI joint issue. And then into bridge. And we'll move that placement back down a little lower still, more toward the belt line. We'll go to counter pressure. So pushing heavy into the front of this right thigh, reach the left one away, and then switch. You want to push hard, push low, and really try to drive that knee back in. Draw the belly in with the exhale. Now across the midline of the body, push hard and resist. Again, drawing the belly in, keeping that airway open. Push hard, don't let that knee move. You'll feel that belly tighten right up. Last 2. And come on down to bridge. Bridge those hips up nice and high. Walk your feet in together so that they're touching. Get the knees as close together as possible, and then use your shoulders and elbows. Push that chest up nice and high. Get the bridge nice and high. Short foot here with the right foot. 45-degree angle with your pressure into the foot. Make sure you're flattening those toes. And kick this hip up just as high as it'll go. And then a little boost with the shoulders and arms. Up and hold. And you're going to switch over to the left foot. So down and up with this left foot, short, 45-degree angle with the pressure. And then using the shoulders and arms, keeps your chest up nice and high. It helps you to get that bridge up just a little bit higher. Up and hold. Get those feet right together. Knees as close together as you can. Keep the short foot down and up. And you want to squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze. So crush those glutes together. Those high inner thighs will squeeze together. Keep those knees as close together as you can. And then pushing that bridge nice and high. Squeeze and release. Squeeze and release. That's it. Couple more here. Up nice and high. Now 45-degree angle, pushing into your short foot. Squeezing these glutes together. Up with these hips as high as you can. Using the shoulders and arms. Now crush the knees together for 5, 4, way up, 3, 2, 1. Oh. And come on down into the upward plank. So taking a second, getting those hands spread nice and wide. So spread those fingers, stretch those thumbs right out, and press those palms stretched into the mat. You'll find new strength there. Get those shoulders down from the ears, and then lay that head back. Kick those hips up as best you can, and widen your chest. Spread those collarbones as wide as you can, and push the chest up toward the ceiling. Stay strong in your hands and fingers. Keep those shoulders down from the ears, but spreading that chest as wide as you can with a breath in here. And then into table. So in with the feet underneath those knees. You keep pulling that chest apart. Keep kicking those hips up nice and high and pressing down through the palms and the fingers. Staying strong in those hands and shoulders. There should be no wrist, elbow, or shoulder discomfort here at all. If there is, this anchor has to be strengthened. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll come on over here to the downward dog, upward dog, and then we'll move into the plank from there. So get a good grip with your hands, get your knees nice and soft, and then tilting that tailbone up toward the ceiling. Start to sink the chest, trying to A-frame the body, and then pushing back on those heels and the back of those knees as you try to sink the chest. Try to A-frame the body, get that tailbone to point up toward the ceiling. Keep pushing that chest down between the shoulder blades. Keep driving those heels and knees back as far as you can. Take a breath in here. Exhale for 5. And then walking through the plank into upward dog. Nice and wide with the fingers and palms. Press them hands through the mat. Lift this collarbone. Stay strong in the shoulders. Strong in your hands. No compression in the spine. Take a breath in here. Exhale for 5. And up to the plank. Right foot up. Now switch. Then switch. And switch. Widen the feet. Control the hips. Right hand to the side. Now the left. Now the right. And the left. Keep these hips square to the mat. Right hand forward. And then the left. Back to the right. Back to the left. Right hand behind the back. Keep the hips square for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to all fours. Right hand, left foot. Switch. 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 Super plank. So down to the elbows. Up to the hands. Down to the elbows. Up to the hands. And come on out of that for the bird dog. So we go down to the bird dog here now. Using your wedge again. You're going to get your knee on the inside edge of the wedge so that your room for the left knee to be beside it, never coming in front of it, and never tapping with the elbow. So reach the foot in the hand, and then bringing the knee underneath the torso, gently tapping it with the right hand, making sure that there's no rounding and there's no wobbling in this pelvis. Stay nice and strong in that left hand. Reach out and hold here. Bring the right toes off the mat. And we'll take 5 passes with the 2-point bird dog. Much more demand for stability. Reach out one more time and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll flip you over to the other side. So the left knee comes to the inside edge of that wedge. Right hand is right underneath the shoulder. Spread the hand. Turn the elbow forward. Get the right leg extended back. The left arm forward. And then drawing the knee underneath the hip. Reach the hand down to tap it. Making sure there's no rounding of the pelvis. No wobbling in the spine. You want to be able to balance a glass of water here and not have it spill. Once more, reach out and hold. Now the 2-point bird dog. So the left toes off the mat. And then reach and tap. Out and hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. We're going to come on down into the side bridge. So into the side bridge, most important thing is that the hips are forward. Give this arm a little spin, getting this right lat on from the ear, or shoulder away from the ear. This is your anchor. So if you feel the shoulder, then you're not anchored. You've got to come out of it. You may have to go to half. You can either keep your feet stacked or staggered. Once you come up, what matters is that that glute facing the mat, the right glute in my case, is kicking forward. You've got to have that glute on. And then squeezing those glutes together to keep them kicked forward. Most important piece of this and the right shoulder. So the shoulder has to be quiet. If you feel that shoulder at all, you've lost the anchor, come on out of it. Try to set it up again or do it in half. Sometimes the strength of the anchor is the weak link. So don't worry about regressing. Hanging on here, just 10 more seconds. Keep kicking those hips forward. Stay nice and strong in the shoulder for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll come to the other side. So over to the left side, again, making sure that left lat is set. Nice and strong in your lat here. Keeping the hips kicked forward. You come up and hold. Just squeeze the glutes together. Keep the hips moving forward. The arm overhead helps to keep the body square. The torso is going to want to roll forward. And the hips are going to want to sink back. You've got to keep those hips kicking forward. Hang on here. 15. Keep kicking the hips forward. Stay nice and strong in this left lat. Almost there. 10. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on up to that, and we'll move you into lizard. So one big step forward with that right foot. You're going to shift your body weight back. Feel this right hamstring start to tighten up. Once you do, pull back on the toes, press down in the heel, and then pivot the hip. Rotate this hip in and out as much as you can. As you press down into the heel, trying to sink the hip down toward the floor. Whole time, pull back on these toes, spin this foot out as much as you can. Take a big breath and push this heel away long. Keep this knee quiet for 5, 4, and we'll come to the other side. So one big step forward with that left foot is always helpful. You shift your weight back. You feel that left hamstring starting to wind up. Pull back on the toes. Press down on the heel. Sinking the right hip bone. Start to turn the hip in and out. So rotating through this hip as you press down on the heel. Spin that foot out. Pull those toes way back. Take a big breath. Push that heel away for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come on down to the screaming pigeon. So down onto your right hip, pull that knee open so the knee angle here is at 90. Pull back on these toes. You get on the ball of the back foot. Start to spin that left hip forward. And then keeping the head and shoulders up, lead through the collarbone. And as you do, you press. Deliberately push the outside of this knee into the mat against all of this stretching pressure. So the more room you reach for, the harder you push. I'm pushing hard enough, I'm picking my hip right up off the mat here, trying to get as much pressure into the outside of this thigh and hip as you can. Taking a big breath in here, exhale and lean on it for 5. We'll bring the foot in. Square those hips up, walk the hands back, get nice and tall as you can, looking up with the eyes, pull back on the right elbow, aggressively. Feel that low left abdomen stretching. With a big breath here, turn hard. And then into the emperor. So if you get that foot, great. If you can't, back it into a wall, back it into the front of your couch. Just get that knee to start to bend, and then bring the chest up nice and high. Kick that knee into the mat, and then seeing if you can squeeze that left glute. If you can recruit that left glute against all of this stretch through the front of the hip, that is a good day. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll set up the screaming pigeon on the left. So sitting down on that left hip, Open up that left knee angle to 90 degrees, pull back on those toes. Getting on the ball of the back foot will help to turn the right hip forward. So you're trying to spin the right hip forward with the head and shoulders up, reaching through the collarbone toward that left knee, and as you do, you press that outside of that left knee, deliberately, actively pushing the knee into the mat. And you reach for more stretch, the harder you push with that knee. Trying to open this hip up. Keep leaning on it. This length will come a millimeter at a time. Take a big breath in here. Exhale and heavy into this hip for 5. And bring that foot in. Square your hips up nice and even to the floor. Walk your hands back in nice and tall. Keep that back glute on. That foot pushing into the floor. With that left elbow pull back. Feel that low right abdomen. Once a big breath. And then into Emperor. Backing that foot in, or hooking that foot if you can. Get that shoulder nice and anchored if you've got the foot. And then nice and tall with the chest. Press that knee into the mat. And trying to recruit the glute against all that stretch. Getting that foot in nice and close. Lots of pressure through the front of this right thigh. Trying to recruit that glute against this stretch. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And to the hands and knees for the box shoulder. So you're going to thread the right arm underneath the torso, and then using the left hand, rotate the body. Turn as much as you can and reach through the right arm. Long. Reaching that right arm away. Trying to rotate through your waist. Turn through the waist as much as you can and press this whole arm down into the floor. Trying to feel the pressure through the back of that shoulder, shoulder blade, back of the neck. Keep trying to turn the torso. Take a big breath in here. Exhale and reach with pressure for 5. We'll go the other direction. So left hand underneath the body, using the right hand, trying to rotate through the waist as much as you can, and then lengthening through the arm as you continue to try to turn your body to the right. Keep reaching and turning and pressing that arm heavy down into the floor. Take a breath in here. Exhale and reach for 5. And we'll come sideways on the mat for frog. So sideways on your mat, so there's room for the knees to get very wide. And then once you get real wide, you widen those feet, pull up on those toes. Bring your body nice and forward so there's lots of room for you to be able to sweep the tailbone. The key is to turn the pelvis. So as you push back into frog, you keep trying to turn the tailbone up toward the ceiling and pulling up on the toes and pushing down on the inside of the heels. You're going to come forward again. So a little wider. You get 3 passes here. Make sure you're pulling up on the toes. And then a nice turn to the tailbone as you push back into frog. Keep trying to spin the tailbone to the ceiling. Keep trying to spin the belly button down toward the floor. Pushing back as deep as you can, but continuing to try to turn. Once more, a little forward, a little wider. Pull back on those toes. And then pushing back into those hips. Spin the tailbone up toward the ceiling. Keep trying to turn the pelvis. Pushing back as deep as you can. Taking a big breath in here. Exhale, pull up on those toes and turn the tailbone for 5, 4, 2, 1. Come on under that and move lengthwise on the mat for the extended puppy. So from a child's pose setup with the feet together, the knees are wide. You start by reaching the arms forward, and as you do, start to turn the elbows up toward the ceiling. So reaching forward through the arms, through the fingers, try to spin the elbows to the ceiling, then trying to sink the chest down into the mat as soon as you can. Trying to keep those hips nice and high, but force yourself to press the chest toward the mat. Open the backs of the shoulders, the chest, and the ribs. Take a breath in here. Exhale for 5. And then into the camel. So with the knees about hip width apart, you're going to go ahead and start to kick the hips forward. You want to push the heels of the hands into those glutes. Pull those shoulders down. Really peel them down and pull those shoulder blades, or squeeze those shoulder blades together. Widen the front of your chest. Trying to kick the chest up to the ceiling. Clench the teeth and push the chin back. And just keep trying to widen the chest as much as you can. Try to separate the collarbones. Push your chest through those shoulders up to the ceiling. Keep kicking through the hips. Keep opening through the abdomen and the chest. Fronts of the legs. You lay that head back with the teeth closed. Turn your head left and right. Find all that tight stuff through the neck and the throat. Keep kicking. Take a big breath in here. Exhale for 5. And coming down to your belly, we'll go to the spiral chest. So down on your belly, we get that left elbow up above the height of the shoulder, but make sure you turn the body, turn your torso, or turn your head to the right, and then wiggle your chest in nice and close, pushing this forearm into the floor so you feel the strength of this left lat, this left shoulder blade pulling into the spine. Push off that right hand, slowly reach that right foot back, and as you do, pressure more and more into the floor with the left forearm pushing even through the hand and the elbow. Keep that shoulder nice and quiet. Feel the strength of that lat. Anchoring that shoulder so all that stretch is in the chest and the ribs and eventually that ache to the elbow. With the breath here. We'll go the other way. So the arm comes up, elbow around the height of the shoulder, be a little lower once you move up on the chest, and then turn the head to the left. Get that chest in nice and close, and then pushing the forearm into the floor, feel the strength of the right shoulder, and then pushing off this left hand, slowly amplifying the pressure into the right forearm, keeping that shoulder nice and strong, so that shoulder's down from the ear. Just a sense of stretching through the chest. Keep pulling that shoulder blade into the spine. Keep that shoulder anchored. Take a big breath. Exhale and lean on it heavy for 5. And we'll come on your back for the L5. So we'll do the L5 disc here, myofascial stretch. Back flat to the mat is the key. So bringing these knees in, fist width apart, pull back on the toes and turn the feet in. They stay set up in this position. Arms above your shoulders, get the shoulders down from the ears, pull the chin in, very strong. Spin the wrists, drop those arms right beside your ears with that chin tucked in, nice and strong. Push through the hand, grab the head and the heels of the hands, and then back flat to the mat. Push those heels up to the ceiling and pull back on those toes as they turn in. Keep lengthening through the feet. Keep reaching through the heels of the hands. Keep pulling back on those toes. That back nice and flat to the mat. Take a breath in. Exhale and lengthen for 5. And we'll come on to that to full spine. So the left leg will extend. The toes will turn in. You're pushing long through that heel. You really want to get the sense of lengthening through the arms and the legs with these setups. This will restore joint spaces. So pulling that right knee in, making sure the back is nice and flat. You get that right shoulder down from your ear. You drop the arm right beside the ear. Pull that chin in real strong. Push through the heel of the right hand. Lengthen this right arm. Keep the back flat with that chin tucked in. And then pushing through the heel of that left foot. Turning those toes in and pulling them back. Lengthen that left leg as you lengthen this right arm with the chin tucked in strong and the back flat. Take a breath. And reach for 5. We'll go the other side. So the right leg extends, toes pull back and turn in, long through the heel of this foot. Pull this left knee in, getting that back nice and flat, tuck the chin in very strong, left shoulder's down from the ear. You spin that hand. With that chin pulled in and that back flat, lengthen through this left arm. and reach through that right foot with those toes pulled back and turned in. Make that leg a little longer. Keep the back nice and flat with that chin tucked in. Push through the crown of your head and lengthening through this left arm as you reach through the right foot with the back flat. Breath in here. Exhale for 5. And we'll go to a cervical spine. So this is the only one where the head will lift from the mat. The key is to really get good at pulling this chin in. Once you pull that chin in strong, you'll feel the back and the sides of the neck stretching. This will regenerate discs in the neck. So we bring these knees in, fist width apart, toes pulled back and turned in. These do not move. Keep the back flat to the mat here. Pull the chin in real strong. Get the shoulders down from your ears. And then drop those hands right beside your hips and lengthen through those arms. Keep spinning the wrists with the chin pulled in. Lift the back of the head half an inch from the mat and push through the top of your head as you pull that chin in and push through the heels of your hands to lengthen through your neck. And drive those hands as far toward that wall as you can, keeping that back nice and flat. Keep pulling the chin in and reach through the top of your head with a breath here. For 5. And we'll come on down to banana. So from flat on the mat, one big step with this right foot. You want to be pulling back on those toes. Cross the left ones over. You've got to keep these legs working. Don't let them relax. Trying to turn the back to flatten as much of the mat as you can. The key is the left elbow. So you got to pull back on the left elbow and then pull hard with the right arm as you push through the heels of the feet. Keep that left shoulder nice and quiet. Try to pull and bend and get as much motion out of it as you can. And then keep lengthening through your heels with the toes pulled back. Keep pulling back on that left elbow and pull as hard as you can with this strong right arm. And bend yourself to the right. Take a breath here. Exhale for 5. And we'll go the other way. So from long on the mat, one big wide step, cross that right foot over. Again, you want to be working through those legs. So the quads are strong, glutes are strong, pushing through the heels. Keep this right shoulder nice and quiet by pulling back on the right elbow and then pull as hard as you can with this strong left arm. Keep pushing through the heels of your feet. Keep pulling back on this right elbow. Keep the shoulder nice and quiet and pull as hard as you can, opening up the rib cage, the belly, the back of the shoulder, and the chest here. Bending your body to the left. Take a big breath in. Exhale for 5. And we'll flip you over on your belly. We'll get you down to child's pose. We'll take a half a dozen breaths, just expanding the abdomen as you breathe in to work the diaphragm. So a nice big inhale through the nose. So you get as much expansion as you can. Push that abdomen forward as you breathe in. And then exhaling through the nose the same length of time. This is just to work the diaphragm, a hugely important muscle. Six good breaths a day is all it takes to keep this muscle working exactly the way it's supposed to. Big deal. And take one more breath here, 10 seconds. We slow this one down just a little bit more. 10 seconds in and out through the nose. Lots of expansion in the belly. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you, guys.